Serenity Valley Stories introduces In the Dark Woods. My name is Evelyn Rowe, and I'm writing this because I need someone to know what happened. I need someone to hear my story because even though I survived, I'm not sure how much longer I can keep running from the shadows that haunt me. I'm a former Marine, trained to handle the worst, but nothing prepared me for the nightmare that unfolded in our secluded country house. It started like any other day, with Jason and I enjoying the early morning calm. We had moved to this house to escape the noise of the city, to find peace. It was just us, the trees, and the open sky. The nearest neighbor was miles away, and that was how we liked it, until everything changed. I first noticed something was wrong when I heard a sound in the woods. It was faint, almost like it was trying not to be heard. I told myself it was probably just an animal, a deer, maybe a raccoon, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. I should have listened to that instinct. As a Marine, you learn to trust your gut, but I ignored it. I didn't want to believe that our peaceful life could be shattered. That night, I woke to a loud thud outside. I was on my feet in an instant, reaching for the bat I kept by the bed. Jason, half asleep, asked what was wrong, and I told him to stay put. I crept down the stairs, trying to keep my breathing steady. The house was dark, the kind of darkness that presses in on you from all sides. I opened the front door and stepped onto the porch. The night was silent, too silent. The air was thick with that same feeling of being watched, the same one that had prickled at the back of my neck earlier. But there was nothing, just the yard bathed in cold moonlight. When I went back inside, I tried to tell myself that it was nothing, but I couldn't shake the feeling. And when we woke up the next morning to find our car wouldn't start, I knew we were in trouble. Someone had cut the battery cables. We were miles from the nearest town, with no car, no phone service, and soon, no power. The phone lines were dead, and our cell phones might as well have been paperweights. Jason was frustrated, but I was scared. Not for myself, I'd faced worse, but for him. For us. Whoever was out there, they were playing a game, and we were the prey. The tension in the house was unbearable. We tried to stay calm, to come up with a plan, but every sound, every shadow set my nerves on edge. I checked the windows and doors obsessively, knowing it wouldn't matter if they decided to come inside. We were sitting ducks. That night, the noises started again, footsteps, soft but deliberate, circling the house. Jason wanted to go out and confront whoever it was, but I wouldn't let him. I couldn't. This wasn't like anything I'd dealt with before. It wasn't a battlefield with clear enemies. It was something worse, something that thrived on fear. I don't know how long I sat there, gripping the bat until my knuckles turned white, listening to those footsteps. They stopped just before dawn, and that's when I knew this wasn't going to end easily. The next morning, we found the generator had been tampered with. The power was out, and the house was plunged into silence. No hum of the fridge, no buzz from the lights, just silence. Jason was on the verge of panic, but I forced myself to stay calm. We needed a plan, and fast. I decided we'd have to make a run for it. There was no other option. We'd use the back door, slip into the woods, and head for the creek. From there, we could follow the water downstream to the road. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot we had. We waited until the footsteps outside reached their peak, hoping our stalker would be focused on the front of the house. Then, as quietly as we could, we slipped out the back door. The forest was darker than I'd ever seen it, the trees looming like sentinels watching our every move. We made it to the creek without incident, but as soon as we started following it, he appeared. He was tall, with wild eyes and a twisted smile that made my blood run cold. He didn't say much, just that he'd been having fun. That's what it was to him, a game. And we were his toys. When he lunged at us, I fought with everything I had. But he was strong, too strong. He knocked Jason down with one hit and turned on me. I hit him with the bat, but it was like he didn't even feel it. He was enjoying the struggle, like it was all part of the game. I was trained for combat, but this was different. This wasn't a fight I could win. Just when I thought it was over, I heard sirens in the distance. I don't know how they got there, or who called them, but they saved us. The man heard them too, and his smile disappeared. He threw me to the ground and vanished into the trees, as if he'd never been there. The police found us battered but alive. They searched the woods, but they didn't find him. He was gone, just like that, leaving us with nothing but fear and questions. Days passed, and we tried to move on, but the fear never left. Every night, I lay awake, listening for footsteps that never came, waiting for a man who might never return, or who might be closer than I think. The days following the attack were a blur of fear, exhaustion, and frustration. We moved through the house like ghosts, always on edge, jumping at every creak and shadow. The police assured us they were doing everything they could to find him, but with every passing hour, the likelihood of his capture seemed to fade. Jason tried to throw himself into his writing, but the words wouldn't come. I tried to keep myself busy, repairing the generator, replacing the car battery, but nothing could shake the feeling that we were being watched. Even in broad daylight, with the sun shining through the windows, I could feel his eyes on me. I started to question everything. Was I being paranoid, or was he still out there, biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again? I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every noise became a threat, every shadow a hiding place. One night, about a week after the attack, I woke to find Jason sitting on the edge of the bed, staring out the window. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his face gaunt and pale. "He's still out there, isn't he?" Jason's voice was barely a whisper, but it was laced with fear. I didn't have the heart to lie to him. "I don't know," I said softly. "But we can't live like this. We can't keep letting him control our lives." Jason nodded, but he didn't take his eyes off the window. "I keep seeing him in my dreams, Evelyn. I keep seeing that smile." I reached out and took his hand, squeezing it gently. "We'll get through this. We'll figure it out." But as the days turned into weeks, my resolve began to crumble. The police still had no leads, and the strain was taking its toll on both of us. I started to avoid the woods, staying close to the house, where I could see all the exits. But even there, I felt vulnerable. The walls that had once felt so secure now seemed flimsy, too thin to keep out the darkness that lurked outside. Then, one evening, as I was washing dishes, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. There, in the fading light of dusk, was a figure standing at the edge of the trees, just beyond the reach of the porch light. It was him. I knew it before I even turned my head to look. The way he stood there, completely still, watching me with those wild eyes, it was as if he was daring me to come outside. My heart pounded in my chest as I slowly set the dish down, my hands trembling. I knew I should call for Jason, should grab the gun we kept locked in the cabinet, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, trapped in his gaze. And then, just as quickly as he appeared, he was gone. One moment he was there, and the next, the shadows swallowed him whole. I collapsed against the counter, my legs giving out beneath me. The realization that he had returned, had never truly left, sent a wave of cold terror through my veins. I knew then that this would never end, not until one of us was dead. The final straw came 2 nights later. We were in bed, trying to find comfort in each other's presence, when the power went out again. The house was plunged into darkness, and for a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, I heard it, the sound of something scraping against the window. Jason heard it too, I could feel his body tense beside me. "Stay here," I whispered, slipping out of bed and grabbing the gun. I moved through the darkness with practiced ease, every sense on high alert. I made my way downstairs, where the sound was louder, more insistent. I crept towards the window, raising the gun, ready to fire at the slightest movement. But when I reached the window and yanked back the curtain, there was nothing. Just the empty yard, bathed in the faint light of the moon. I was about to turn away when something caught my eye. There, etched into the glass, were words scratched with something sharp, deep enough to leave permanent marks. "I'm still here." My blood ran cold. He had been inside the yard, close enough to touch the house, and I hadn't heard a thing. He was toying with us, letting us know that no matter what we did, no matter how hard we tried to escape, he would always be one step ahead. I rushed back upstairs, my heart pounding in my ears. "Jason, we need to leave," I said, shaking him awake. "Now." Jason didn't argue. We grabbed what little we could carry and fled the house, not stopping until we were in the car and driving away from the woods as fast as we could. We drove through the night, not stopping until we reached a small motel on the outskirts of the next town. Only then did I allow myself to breathe, to let the adrenaline drain from my body. We never went back to that house. We left everything behind, our belongings, our life, because no matter how much we loved that place, it wasn't worth our sanity, our safety. The police never caught him. He vanished as mysteriously as he had appeared, leaving nothing but a trail of fear and destruction in his wake. It's been months since that night, but the fear hasn't left us. Every day, I look over my shoulder, half expecting to see him standing there with that twisted smile. Every night, I lie awake, listening for the sound of footsteps outside the window. I don't know if he'll ever come back, but I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over. He's still out there, somewhere, waiting. And until he's caught, until he's locked away where he can't hurt anyone else, I'll never feel safe again. So, if you're reading this, know that I'm not looking for sympathy. I just want someone to understand that even when the nightmare is over, it's never really gone. Not when you've seen what's hiding in the dark. Not when you know it's still out there. Thank you for listening to Serenity Valley Stories, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, share with your friends, and check out the other stories on the channel.